We've all done it. We've forgotten our keys in the car, our phones. But would you forget your baby in the car, in the back seat? Before you say, oh my God, absolutely not. Listen to this. Every 9 days, a child is left behind in the car and dies. This episode of Susan Makes Sense is your wake-up call. I'm NBC4 consumer reporter Susan Hogan. Welcome to the show.
Susan Makes Sense on NBC4 is brought to you by Chase.
I'm so glad you're here. You know, this is one of those episodes that, as hard as it's going to be to talk through and to get through, I think the fact that you're here means that we both are all trying to do the same thing, which is save a life. And I truly believe that we can do that because these hot car tragedies are awful. But by sharing this episode, and more we talk about it, it makes us all realize that, you know, this is something that can be prevented. And I want to tell you about some of these stats that we have. You know, when you think about hot car deaths, the first thing that comes to my mind as a parent is, how does that happen? Like, I would never, ever do that. But when you hear these stats, it makes you realize, like, maybe this is happening more than often. 40 kids are dying each year on average. There were just, since 2026, there have already been 14 deaths so far this year. But before we go any further into our episode here, because you're going to hear from a dad who had this happen to him. It was awful. His story is tragic. I want to take you actually outside for a minute, because this is something that every parent, every guardian, every grandparent should really see. So we actually took our cameras outside to answer one simple question. Just how fast does the inside of a car become deadly? The answer honestly surprised even me. Take a look. So I'm with Ryan Miller, who's our meteorologist. You're also a science teacher. It's great to see you.
Good to be here.
Tell me, how quickly does a hot car become dangerous? At what temperature?
Matter of seconds, matter of minutes.
Really?
Depends on the weather factors. If it's a really hot day, you're looking at just a few minutes before that temperature inside the car reaches a point where it can cause damage or heat exhaustion or heat illnesses. We put some thermometers into this car right here, identical thermometers, one that's outside of the vehicle and the same exact thermometer that is on the inside of the vehicle. And it's only been 10 minutes. They've been sitting there, and we're looking at a difference of about 105 degrees to 83. And that's just in 10 minutes.
That's crazy.
In just a few matter of minutes. Yes, absolutely. So if you can imagine other factors like the temperature being hotter outside, or direct sunlight that's going through the car and into the windows and warming up that interior even faster.
Is there a difference between, this is a white car versus a black car?
Absolutely. And there's a difference between the windows as well and the treatments.
Tell me why.
Things that are dark absorb sunlight, and they're going to bring more heat into the system and allow for a rapid heating. Things that are white are reflecting light, reflecting radiation, and won't necessarily heat up as fast as a car that is dark or windows that are dark. And that's also some of the issues you have to contend with. Really dark windows on a car, while they might be great for privacy, are just insulating and helping to bring more radiation into that vehicle and allowing it to heat in a rapid fashion. These are mini greenhouses. The more light that gets in there, the darker those cars are, the darker the color of the windows, or the darker the shade of the car itself, they're going to continue to accumulate heat.
So what do you have here? What are you going to show us?
An infrared thermometer measuring the surface temperature of whatever we want to point it at and shoot. We've got a car here that is white. As I take the temperature off of that white surface, remember, white things reflect radiation, reflect light. I'm reading 79, 80 degrees here on this vehicle.
Okay.
Let's take a look now at a car that is the absolute opposite, a black car, and see if there is a difference. And we were at 80, remember, on this vehicle. We were looking at the car that was white, reflecting all that sunshine, the solar radiation. Now we've got the opposite, a car that is black. And there was a temperature, remember, of 80 degrees on that white car. This one here sitting at 96 degrees.
It just got up to 97.
Just to 97.
Wow,
so an incredible difference between a car that is white versus a car that is black, and that ability of the surface to either reflect, like that white car, or absorb sunlight.
Are you able to tell me what symptoms of heat stroke are? Like,
Uh,
especially if you are, for a young child who's in
sure.
the car?
Lethargy, you're looking
Mm.
at, extreme dehydration
Ugh.
setting in. With a young child that may not be able to communicate or vocalize some of the impacts of these things, that's a factor.
Right.
It's one of those things where heat illnesses aren't necessarily going to occur immediately. Sometimes they do,
Mm.
but they can accumulate and build up over time. So if you're in the car for 10 minutes or even 20 minutes where you're doubling the amount of time, it's not a doubling of the impact, it's possibly a quadrupling of the impact. So that longer exposure time exponentially increases the risk and the impacts to the body.
All right. Thanks so much, Ryan, for that. And if you're still thinking to yourself, okay, I get it. Hot cars, that can happen in minutes, right? I understand that. But I would never forget or leave my child in the car. But think about it. We're parents. Things are going on. It's crazy, right? There's routines that change. And I want you to meet someone that my producer and we interviewed her a few years ago. Her name is Raylan Belfour from Virginia. She talked about her 9-month-old little boy. His name was Bryce, and she mistakenly forgot. She left him behind in a car. She simply just forgot to drop him off at the babysitter. Here's her story.
I was one of those parents that said it could never happen to me. And then I ran to the car, and that's when I found him.
How do you tell your husband that you left your son in the car?
It was the end of March, 66 degrees, when 9-month-old Bryce Balfour died after being left inside a car by his mother.
The perception is you're a bad mom,
Or you're a bad parent, and you feel shame and guilt for what you did or what you forgot.
Bryce remained in the car 8 hours as temperature inside rose to 120 degrees.
we actually got to hold him one last time before they took him away.
Mm. And she went on to tell us that she was arrested and she was charged for the death of her little boy. She was later acquitted and all of that, but now she has made it her mission to go and talk to other parents about this. But she is just one, as I said, of nearly 1,200 parents of children who have died in hot cars. And I want you to meet someone else now. His name is Miles Harrison. And on July 8th of 2008, this happened to him. He left his little boy in the car. And Miles, I know this is a story that you have told over and over again, and it never gets any easy. First of all, thank you so much for agreeing to share your story with us today. For someone who's just meeting you today, Miles, would you mind telling us what happened on July 8th, 2008 to you?
Sure. I left my house and had my son in the back seat of my car, fully intending to drop him off at daycare on my way to my office, which is in Herndon. I'm in western Loudoun County. I stopped off at the dry cleaner, dropped off my clothes, got back in my car, phone calls all the way, and I literally went right to my office.
Mm.
And I went right in my office, and I worked all day. I even went out to lunch and walked right past my car and went in somebody else's car to lunch, came back. Toward the end of the day, a coworker came in my office and said, "Hey, do you have a doll in your car?" I go, "What? A doll? What are you talking about?" And I don't know, it didn't really, catch, but I got up and went outside and went out to my car, and I could kind of see in the tinted window. And then I kind of hit me, oh my God. And I threw open the door, and
Mm. Take your time. It's okay.
and my son was purple, sitting in the seat. And I guess I lost my mind. I ripped him out of the car and I ran inside screaming into the office, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God." And somebody grabbed him from me and started doing CPR, and they called 911, and all of a sudden everything started happening so fast. And then I ended up calling my wife, who was on the bus coming from her work downtown, screaming hysterically, and she couldn't even understand what I was saying. I was so I was so upset, and I just remember I got in an ambulance
Mm.
and they took me to Reston Hospital. And I remember them. I actually remember the ambulance guy in the back who was sitting with me trying to calm me down because I was in
Well,
hysterics.
of course you were.
And I went to the hospital and I got in a room and they wanted to give me something to calm me down.
Mm.
And I was in a great deal of pain. And I said, "No, don't you give me a thing. I can't, I don't deserve anything. Don't you dare give me anything to make this feel any less bad."
At that point, your little boy, his name was Chase. Had he already been pronounced dead?
Yes.
He was. Did you, when you stop to think about it, you know, I can't even imagine. I think as a parent, I'd be like, wait, what? Like, when did it first like hit you? What happened? Like, and I know I would be like you too. Like, I would just want to just die myself. Like, were you thinking, how did this happen? And I'm sure your wife, having to look at your wife too, that had to have been extremely hard
Oh
to
boy.
explain. How do you explain that?
There's no explanation.
No.
None. And yes, well, I still feel that way. I mean, so for so many years, it's been 18 years. Um, and I still feel guilt and shame and anger at myself.
Were-
Something I can't get over.
What do you probably were one of those parents who've always said or have heard these stories thinking, I would never do that. How do you do that? I would never forget
I'm
my
still one of those
child.
parents.
Right.
I'm still one of those parents, and I blame my. I am. I'm still one of those parents. I mean, I understand it now.
Mm,
I get it now how it happens,
yeah.
but I don't forgive myself. I
What
don't know if
what
that
was
makes a difference.
it does. It makes sense to me. It does. Because no one is judging you. No one has a right to judge what happened because this kind of stuff, as much as we pray that it would never happen, it can happen. What was it about that day, about your routine? Was it changed up? Did something happen that affected you, that affected the day and your
Yeah.
routine?
So, well, yeah, I was having a really hectic time at my office. It was so many things were happening all at once. I was getting phone calls like from from the moment I left my house until the moment I got to my office. It was nonstop phone call, phone
Mm,
call, phone call. And it was new, right? It was fairly new, this process. Normally, my wife took Chase to daycare.
yeah.
So it was a new routine a bit. And then also the intensity of everything happening at work.
Let me ask you this too, because your pain didn't just end with your son's death. You ended up getting arrested
I did.
and
It was
charged.
involuntary manslaughter.
That had to have just, oh my God. I mean, tell me about that process and how does that happen? And then what came of that?
Well, that was difficult. It was really
Mm,
difficult because when I was arrested, um, this is 18 years ago, and so it was much different than it is now. Now there's a lot more information out there, but back then there wasn't.
I want to ask you, what did happen with your case eventually?
Oh, well, eventually it went to trial, um, and I was found not guilty.
Mm.
And then again, the start of, I mean, everything changed. My job all changed. Everything changed in my life. I had to kind of
Yeah.
rebuild it.
And Miles,
Lost.
before I let you go, I think what I want to leave with people is what lessons do you have for parents who are watching this right now?
So the first thing is make sure you have a car that has an alarm that tells you, hey, check the back seat.
Hmm.
Because I actually did get involved with a car manufacturer to help do that. So make sure that you check the back seat. Make sure that you don't get involved in phone calls and in pressure, and keep your mind specifically on what's important, which is your family.
Yeah.
Of all.
Miles, thank you. You are so kind and so strong to be able to share your story. And I know you
I'm
just
not
told
so
me that it
strong,
was
Susan.
but you know what? You are. And because you are doing what you're doing, you are saving a life. There is no doubt in my mind, Miles, that someone who's watching this is going to share this and who's going to think twice. And for that, we thank you so much. I know that July 8th, which just happened, is his death, of the anniversary of his death. And I know that you each year have take some dirt from his grave. And, I want you to know that we appreciate you and for being so open and talking with us about this. And for that, we thank you very, very much. And I will keep Chase and you and your wife in my prayers tonight. Thank you,
Thank you.
Miles. It's just such a heartbreaking story from Miles. But you know what? This technology does exist in vehicles. Some manufacturers are putting in this technology to alert parents that there are children or something in the backseat. I want to show you how some of this technology works. Take a look.
Some car manufacturers have already voluntarily installed this life-saving technology. In some vehicles, the dashboard displays a warning to check the rear seat. Others have an ultrasonic rear occupant alert that can detect a child left in a car after the driver exits the vehicle. And there are manufacturers that install both.
And that adds a tremendous layer of safety.
Kevin Riley, owner of Alexandria Hyundai, showed us how it works. Watch as Kevin parks the car, gets out, and locks the door. I remain in the back seat.
And now I'll start the stopwatch to see how long it takes before the sensor can detect me here. Just move my arm a little. Up. 8 seconds. That's all it took.
Wow. That was crazy. Yeah. So this is great technology, but not every manufacturer has like those radar technology that can actually alert you if there's a child still in the back seat. I want to get right to the founder of an organization that I've worked with for years called Kids in Cars. They are dedicated to preventing child injuries in vehicles. And Jeanette Fennell, she is joining me now. Jeanette, I know that you've been working so long and hard on this issue. It's so nice to see you.
I'm very happy to be here, Susan.
Jeanette, why does this keep happening?
Well, it all has to do with science and the ways our memories work or don't work sometimes. People do not understand that it can happen to absolutely anyone, and it has to do with us overriding our prospective memory with our habit memory. If anyone has ever driven to work and they're not quite sure how they got there, it's that same concept. And we should not accept or allow these type of preventable tragedies, deaths, injuries from happening. We have the technology. Let's start installing and quit stalling.
So let's talk about the technology. So we just showed a clip of some of this technology working. And isn't it enough? I mean, there are alerts. Car manufacturers will tell you, we have alerts that will tell you, if you put something in the back seat before you leave, it will ding. Isn't that enough? I mean, what else can they be doing?
Well, the current, we'll call it technology, is nothing more than a software update. And what it's saying to you is if you open the back door before you leave on your journey, that when you arrive, you'll get a message. on your dashboard that says check the back seat. Well, all that is telling you is that you open the back door. It doesn't sense if it's a child. It doesn't know if there's something in there or not. So the other technology that you showed, the one that's radar based, is what we need because it absolutely detects like the way it detected you in 8 seconds. It knew there was a living, breathing human being in there, and that's what's needed.
And how much is that tech? I'm sorry to interrupt, but is that technology, that radar technology, that is like the one that you said should work? How is it expensive to put into vehicles?
It's about $20 a vehicle. I don't
So
think
why
that's
aren't they
too
doing
expensive.
it? Is there pushback from manufacturers to put it in? I mean, I know some do. You had mentioned Hyundai and I think Kia as well, and not in all vehicles. But what is the pushback?
Well, it's always the same pushback is the automakers don't want to do it. They went ahead and said, oh, we're doing something, we care. And then they put in the software that just alerts you that there might be something in the back seat. And what makes this even worse is parents think that it is telling them if a child's been left behind, and nothing could be further from the truth. So the technology we needed is available, and it not only detects if it's a child, an adult, or a pet, but it also alerts you to the fact that someone's in need of help.
So let's talk to the parents who are watching this. What can they do if they don't have this technology in their car, or they have the technology, but it's not the radar type? What should they be doing?
Always have a teddy bear or a stuffed animal in the child's car seat. As soon as you put the child in the car seat, put that teddy bear up front. We're very cue dependent as adults. So you know there's always something in the child's car seat. And if the teddy bear's up front, then you know the baby's in the back.
You and I, when we were chatting just a few minutes ago, you had said that even with some of this technology, that there's still been 14 hot car deaths. So that goes to show you that it's not working to the, as well as it should, or people are still doing this.
Well, what I was trying to differentiate there is just the door sequencing or the reminder system, that pops up on your dash isn't adequate. And what I'm saying as well is radar based, the one that you can install in the headliner of the vehicle is what is needed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Jeanette, I know that you've worked with so many parents who've been through so much, through literally hell and back with these awful stories. And I think, what number are we up to since 1990? How many children have died in hot
Almost
cars?
1,200. And
insane.
If I can put this in perspective a little bit, you buy a car today and it doesn't matter which one it is. It will either tell you that you left your lights on so you can turn them off, or automatically turns off your headlights. Well, guess what? Why is that any different than a child being left alone in a vehicle?
Jeanette,
we need this technology. We should have had it years ago. Let's get it installed and end this terrible tragedies.
I could not agree more with you, and I appreciate you taking the time with me. Thank you so much for joining us. And, I think what Jeanette was saying and what we can all remind ourselves is that this is not something that we, can judge parents for. This is something that can happen and will happen again, unfortunately. But honestly, by watching this, I do hope that we are saving a life. I want to we reached out to the automotive industry for their comment. This is the Alliance for Automotive Innovation, and they said that automakers continue their work to address pediatric vehicular heat stroke, including a proactive commitment to install technology to help remind drivers and caregivers about people seated in the rear seat. But as you've seen, that even sometimes that technology doesn't work because, let's face it, we're busy parents. We're going in and out of our vehicles. We've got our kids, we've got soccer, we're doing this, we're doing everything that we think that we can do right. But unfortunately, life gets in the way. But hopefully, by watching this and sharing this, we'll make a difference. Thank you so much for joining us, and I'll see you next time.